Right. Well, if I can find a queue action on some weddings, I'm going to love it.
Backlash makes me horny.
We're up for the banter.
It's a comedian.
Hello, welcome back to that Josh James Show. It's a podcast for the geezers.
And their birds.
As ever, I'm joined by Romford's #1 podcaster, Chrissy White, aka White Boy. What's happening, son?
How we doing, bruv?
Good, mate, good. Yeah, got a very special guest today, Adam Brooks. What's happening, mate?
I'm good, mate. Good to see you.
Thanks
It's been
for
a long
having-
time.
It's been a long time, mate. No, I wanted to get you on for a while, mate. So, you just all changed now. You're like a big media personality and
Well, I try.
face of GB News.
Yeah.
I
look.
remember you as a nightclub promoter.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, the new bar. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, they were good
But,
days.
yeah, good.
They were great days.
Tell the people why they were good days.
Well, I suppose people now, if they would know you now, they would know you because they will stick on GB. How often do you say you're on GB News? Weekly?
I'm on there a couple of times a week now.
A couple of times a week. So it's a big part of your life, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, massively.
So that's how people would know you. But I think for people that live around our area, you used to own probably New Bar and Sugar Out in Brentwood, and probably Faces as well, and Gants Hill. They were like the three big nightclubs in Essex, weren't they?
Yeah, they were the main venues, and obviously people in Towie would know that you had the Sugar Hut that they filmed there. They filmed
Yep.
at Faces. They filmed at my bar.
Yeah.
And it was mad. I used to get
And
coaches,
you owned that bar,
I owned
basically.
New Bar, yeah. And I used to have coaches turn up, people from Wales, hoping to see Joey
Yeah.
Essex or Arge or
Yeah, yeah.
Tommy Mallet, Mark Wright, and in the bar, you used to come there. Them being in wasn't a big thing because they were just
of course.
like one of the locals, but these buses would turn up and they'd go, is Joey here or is this one here? And if none of them were in mine, they'd go to the Sugar Hut. But it's like 30
Is that what
minutes
they used to
down
do?
it's
Follow them around?
Yeah, it's like
Oh, I
30
didn't
minutes
realise
down
that.
the motorway. They think in Essex everything is near
It's like
each
one
other.
street, yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
and trying to explain that to them
Yeah.
was quite hard. But
Yeah, Loughton to Brentwood ain't round the corner.
no.
No, of course it ain't. What's about half hour?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I remember because, I'm from Brentwood. I can remember first seeing, like, on Saturdays and Sundays, like, coaches pulling up and then, girls getting out on Hindus or whatever on what they used to call Towie tours.
Yeah.
And they're showing them around and all the different, cast members would have their shops, wouldn't they? And I'm like, fucking hell, fancy coming and spending the weekend in Brentwood.
Brentwood.
They
Couldn't
were-
get a hotel room.
They were obsessed with it though.
But it was a thing, and I'm like, it's nothing. I'm like, what's there to see
that was
around
what you
here?
were
You know what I
that
mean?
was a mad time. And the producers of Towie, I used to he won't mind me saying it, Tommy Mallet's been on here.
Yeah.
So I put Tommy forward for Towie.
Right.
They used to ask me who's like a local face,
Yeah.
that would be good for the show. And I said, look, Tommy's a great kid at the time, I call him a kid. And I said he brings something completely different. You've got all these manufactured cast members.
Yeah.
I said, you've got this boy here who is real. He's been on the streets, you know what I mean? And he was such a success. It was great to see. And
was
now
great, yeah.
He's gone on to huge things. But I couldn't wish it for a nicer person,
Yeah.
Really good. And I watched his interview with you.
Yeah.
His podcast. So,
Interesting guy, isn't he?
he's a great, and he
He's
wants,
inspiring.
He
He's
wants, and he
inspiring
wants
to
to
be
help
around.
people as well.
Yeah.
So Towie was mad, and they asked me to go on it for I think the first 5 or 6 series,
Right.
and I was like, no.
How old would you have been at the time?
So I don't know. I was 26 when I opened New Bar, so it was like I was late 20s or early 30s, but it just weren't for me.
Nah.
You had a few older cast members, but me and my wife were like, no, I'm not doing that. I didn't.
not
I
for me.
had no
That would have
intention.
been a bit of you, no.
I had no intention of being on the telly or so-called famous again. I don't think I'm famous now, but I had no intention to be sort of in the public eye. I like to do my thing and stay back, and then obviously things have evolved a little bit differently.
It's
But
changed.
yeah, I didn't want to be prancing around with a load of youngsters on a TV show. That weren't for me.
No, I mate, you're right, because on Towie, on reality TV, we've seen it with Love Island this year. You get to a certain age and it's a bit like, you're a bit old for this now.
It gets cringy, doesn't it? It looks desperate, don't it?
I just think it's a bit like, listen, me now, I'm 34 and I still like to think in my head that I'm like 21, 22-year-old. But like, I see kids that are in their early 20s and I know that like they'll probably be looking at me like, oh, you're a bit of an old cunt.
Mate,
You
how
know what I
young
mean?
do they look?
Yeah, they
look
look
like
young
children.
and And I still feel pretty immature. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I'm the same.
My sense of
the
humour is very immature. You know, if you ask my missus, she'll say you're like a div. You're like 10 years old. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know. I always found it odd when I used to go out to, say, New Bar or whatever, and then sometimes there would be people that are knocking about of us that are like 15 years older than us, and I'm like, it's a bit odd.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And
so
now,
you don't want to be that on
now
telly.
I'm that person. I'm 45 in a few weeks, you know, so I quite understand how people look at me now. I mean, I've got 10 years on you.
You've got 10 years on
I've got
me,
to tell you a funny story. And I wrote this down before I come here. I was off to see Katie Hopkins at an event 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I got off the train at Liverpool Street Station. I thought, I'm not walking it. It was raining. So I got in a black cab. And as I got in the black cab, the fella's looking back. And he went, mate, I know you from the internet. I was like, oh yeah, mate, I'm on GB News. Thinking, he went, no, it's not GB News, mate. You're that comedian fella. And I went, who are you talking about, mate? He went, real fella. And I showed him a picture. It was you.
No.
So I said, I'll take that. He's about 10, 15 years younger than me. You know?
Hey, mate, now you say it, it's a striking resemblance.
Really? It's mad though. I couldn't believe it. So
Jesus, I hope I don't get it on the other way. You know what I mean? I don't want someone to go, oh, yeah, mate, you're that geezer for GB News. I'm going to fucking chin you.
You say that. Do you know what? I've never had one person in the real world come for me for any of my opinions at all. You know, online, you'll see it. I get death threats. I get, you're this, you're a bigot, you're racist. I've never been racist, ever. And I get all these labels far right just because I talk about immigration and whatever. But not one person in the real world has ever come up and gone,
mate, that just shows you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
They're just keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
They got no front. In the real world, they ain't going to say nothing. But when they're on their phone, or they got keyboard in front of them, they get a little bit brave.
And I think it shows as well, there's not that many of them that think differently. You know, you might look at some of my opinions and think, oh, that's not really what I think. But I think the basis of what I say is what the majority think, you know? And I have got, if you want to say it, I've got the balls to say it. I've made myself completely unemployable because these, you know, HR departments in these big corporations are probably looking at me thinking, how could we ever employ him because he said that? But half the people at these banks or whatever, if I was to go for a job, would think the same way.
Look,
and that's the shame.
The way I put it, it sounds like you're pro common sense.
That's it. Yeah.
Right? Since when was that radical?
But these lefties, they're a very, very vocal minority that want to shut down anyone saying things that are common sense.
You're not allowed to say things now.
No, it goes against the narrative, you know. So
I think it's good. Now. I think it's good to have a bit of. So I'm not one bit political, really, you know, and the idea of talking, it just like that's for other people. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it's good to have a bit of both, and I think no matter what you believe, what you should be happy doing is sitting there and having right, I believe this, you believe that. Let's sit down and have a conversation about it and debate it. The trouble is with a lot of people now is they get so emotional about it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's tribal. So it's like,
it's like with my dad, right? His mates say to him, right, with my dad, John, they go, right, we can't talk politics. We can't talk football. Right. Because
he's a Tottenham fan.
Yeah, because he's a Tottenham fan. Yeah.
Well, he's got common sense.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Well, mate, he loves you. He watches you all the time.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So yeah, but you just can't. You can't have with certain people. You can't have rational conversation.
Well, it's tribal, and it's tribal. Like football. It's like football supporters. You know, I might say something. Look, I push anti-knife crime campaigns online and
which
whatever.
is a great cause.
And I try and, some of the charities that I've raised money, I've raised tens of thousands for kids' cancer charities. But these people will not agree with anything I say because I'm on the right or because I've said this about immigration or whatever. So it's like they've trained themselves just to hate me because my politics is different to them. And this is where some of the people in this country.
Does it ever get to you people giving you a stick online?
Not
because I imagine you if you're on GB News, you're like you don't mince your words, do you? You say exactly what you feel. Then you know, you must get a fair bit of stick off the back of that. As much as you get so many people agreeing with you, you must also get stick.
Look, sometimes it can wear you down a little bit, but I'm quite thick-skinned.
You're quite thick-skinned,
yeah. But yeah, if you're having an off day and then suddenly you read 4 or 5 comments, you think, oh, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I putting myself through this? And then look, I remember that I've got 3 kids, 2 beautiful girls as well, and if I'm not saying this and no one else is saying what I'm saying, we're just going to carry on going down that route, and things are going to get worse. So look, I'm no hero, I'm no whatever. I'm just there to put my views out there. And if
you said it, you got the courage to come out and say it. If no one else is going to say it, who's going to say it? I'm fearful. I've got 2 boys, and I'm like, what's going to happen? Yeah. There's uncertainty, and I know there's always a level of uncertainty, right? But the direction it's going, like, Freddos are £1.
Yeah.
£1.
That's a liberty.
For a Freddo. They used to be 10p. Yeah. So chocolate is 10x. Can you
get on GB News tonight and start having a go at
Freddos are £1.
Right, let's get the price of Freddos down.
Can we address this as a nation, please? Yeah. But look, it's all relative, right? If Freddos are £1, then everything else is 10x as well. Yeah. People are not going to be able to afford to live. And obviously, like Jamesy said, we are the least political people, right? Yeah. I don't really know. I relate it to my day-to-day life. I'm going in Tesco's, walking out with 1 bag of shopping, and it cost me 50 quid. Yeah. Since when? I remember walking in Tesco's with my mum, filling up a trolley, 100 quid max for like a big 2-week shop. Now it's like, you go get bits for dinner, it's coming to 50 quid.
And that's successive governments. You can't put everything on this Labour government. They've been in 8 months, but things are getting worse. And they're not listening. They're not listening to people on the street or people that are struggling. And this budget that kicks in April, I mean, even for my business, Little Back Street Pub, it's added about £600 a week in extra costs. That's 30 grand a year. Yeah. You know, I've got to take 60, 70 grand over the bar to cover them extra costs. So I'm probably going to start saying to that person that does 5 shifts a week, I've got to do 3 shifts for you, you know, or I can't afford to keep you anymore. So people are going to lose their jobs. This government has got no idea what is coming down the line this year.
Don't you think, though, like you said there about successive governments, and I don't want to talk about politics for too long, because it's not sort of why we got you on, right? But big thing I think is why I'm not political. Don't you think they're all the fucking same?
And this is, you know, we call them the uni party, Conservatives and Labour. They're not really working for us. Half the time they're working for themselves. And what's best for them. Yeah. And look, whether or not some of your viewers are fans of Reform UK, Nigel Farage or whatever, one thing I will say is it's upsetting the apple cart. If they get in, which I think they could do at the next election, suddenly that's one step of change. That's broke up this tradition of, right, it's red or blue. Suddenly we've got more choice, and that's got to be a better thing.
And would you ever run for a
I've been asked.
If you, I can see it happening.
I've been asked, but no, I've got, as I say, 3 young kids. I think.
Would you not? No.
I think politics is toxic. I think I know a lot of the stories where, you know, MPs are having to vote one way, but they believe another way because there might be a bit of dirt on them, or their party has said if you don't do that, you're not getting the funding for your local church group or whatever. Yeah. So. No, I don't want to be part of that. I think it's corrupt. I don't want to be part of corruption.
You see, Ed, like, you're obviously really vocal about all them things. There might be people that will say, well, listen, you're so vocal and so critical about it all, but why don't you, you know... Because I believe you could well represent if reforms...
I could, you know. But not yet. My kids are young. I don't want to put them through it. With being a politician comes a big spotlight on you. And I don't want to bring that on my family. Suddenly, then I could be walking down the street down here and people could want to have a dig. Or they know you as a politician. Of course. I'm quite happy at the moment. I'm very vocal on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. And I'm happy to do that and GB News sort of from the sidelines, you know.
It's a bit like going over Spurs and saying to all the players, you're fucking shit, but they say, come on in, you have a go. You're like, no, you're all right.
Stop putting your boots on,
I was over there yesterday with my little girl, you know.
Weren't too bad yesterday.
Yeah, thank God we got the 3 points. But the season's finished, isn't it? It's gone. It's
See, that surprises me about. I would have thought I could have seen you as, you know, like don't know, the mayor of Loughton or something, you know?
Yeah.
My mates used
Bit
to
of
say
gold.
that.
Well, they used to call you the mayor of Loughton.
Yeah, my mates used to take the mickey out of me with that. But look, I want things to be better.
Yeah, of course, and we all do,
you
mate.
know?
No, we all do.
And do you know
yeah.
what? I hope people see this today. Like, everyone thinks I'm a right serious, miserable person because they see me moaning online and that.
Yeah.
I can be quite funny.
No,
My
of course you are.
mates know me as something totally different.
Yeah.
So hopefully maybe some of your audience might know that. I've got
Mayor of Loughton.
I've got some funny stories from the new bar. Like, if we touch on that, like silly stories.
So
People
new
won't
bar,
believe
new
it.
bar. What was it? 10 years you had this nightclub.
No, so 2006 to 2012, I sold it.
So what's that?
Is that all it was? 6
Yeah,
years?
6
I had it
years?
6 years, and then someone bought it off me that wanted to be
I
on.
used to love it down there.
Yeah,
I would have sworn it was longer than 6
Me
years.
too.
though,
I
wouldn't
suppose,
you?
but that was probably our peak,
But
going
yeah,
out
let's
years.
tell- yeah.
Let's tell people why people like yourself
Well, look,
loved it.
I'll tell you why I love New Bar. You could go there any night of the week,
Yeah,
and it would be kicking off
yeah.
in a good way.
Listen,
Yeah.
let's be totally honest. Why we like no bar?
be
The
honest.
fittest birds.
Look, we've spoke about how fit the birds are in Loughton.
Yeah, they was.
Look, obviously, I'm engaged.
Yeah.
Got to be a little bit careful about
it's
what I say.
different now,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what I'm
back
saying
then-
is, you could go. So like, you go to Brentwood or whatever. You go to a pub. It'd just be like 6 or 7 moody-looking geezers having a pint. You go Loughton,
Yeah.
New Bar, any night of the week. There'd be a couple little groups of birds in there. It was always a good night to be had.
Well,
in New Bar.
there was a reason why I'd have England footballers come. On a Saturday night, I'd have the Tottenham team at the back, Aaron Lennon and Tom Huddleston. They become good friends of mine. Then I had James Collins, Teddy, Roy Carroll, Jimmy Walker. I'd some big names in there. Then, like, maybe John Terry would come over.
Then you had the real A-listers like James Argent, Megan McKenna.
Look, and there's a reason why a bar that small in a little suburban town was attracting some of these people over. And as you say, I had groups of girls that come in there that looked like superstars. My bar staff looked like superstars. It was a bit of a phenomenon.
Oh, there was, yeah.
And
Well, look, character on the podcast, the humble flash guy, met his wife. She was working behind the bar in New Bar when they first met.
Yeah, she
Right.
was.
We don't say names on this podcast because
Yeah.
we get in trouble. I'll tell you after.
Yeah, people
well,
stitch us up.
do you know what? I've got 2 or 3 friends that met their wives
Yeah.
in my bar.
Really?
So it nowadays how things have changed, where they're all just swiping and whatever. But we used to have to go out back then,
Yeah.
of course.
and try and meet girls.
Have a bit of charisma.
I mean, I've been with my missus since '98. She was 16, I was 18. Met her in Mallorca. So we've been together 27 years. But
Nice.
back then I could see the attraction of why groups of girls were coming in,
Yeah,
and,
of course.
I won't lie that. I had a bar that was full of great looking girls and great looking fellas, to be fair.
Well, yeah, we were. Yeah, we were great looking fellas. Yeah. I mean, I weren't. That was probably the Blue Bar year. Actually, I dug out a picture the other day because these geezer used to go around and take photos, didn't he? The
Yeah.
big
Fiver.
Yeah, Fiver. Where?
Mate, we were talking about him the other day. What was his name?
Ches.
Oh, mate, he was so funny.
Yeah.
What's your postcode? He'd write it down. He'd be like, no, I'm sending them all to him because he didn't want to take too many addresses down.
Yeah.
You like that one? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Fiver.
He used to make a good living out.
Oh,
of that.
mate, he was
So
having
you
it
used
off.
to, for anyone who don't know, he used to take the photos.
This is pre-social media.
It was £5 a photo, pre-social media,
Pre-social media.
pre-taking pictures on your phone,
Yeah.
and then you get sent a photo.
Literally, you get like I don't know what size it was.
Don't
A
know,
good,
yeah.
nice colour photo sent through to your
He'd
address.
probably do 100 a night. So
Yeah, at
he was
least.
getting 500
Let's get
quid on a
500,
Friday,
yeah.
500 quid on a
All
Saturday.
cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's hope you declared that.
Otherwise, a Merrill out and be after
That's
you.
it. Well, wait till I work for HMRC.
Hey, mate, can we get
Coming to-
hold of him? Try and get him at my wedding. How funny would that
He
be?
was a character.
Fiver.
I've got a number for him, I think.
Oh, sweet.
Have
I'll
you
take
really-
that.
Was he
Yeah.
a black cab driver?
I think he might have gone into
I
that.
think he was sometime he was a black cab driver or something.
Just a legend, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the bar itself, it was like, it weren't that big, was it?
No. Well, this is the funny thing. My legal capacity there was 150 people.
Yeah.
What was the most you had in there?
I had 350.
Nice.
Fair
And it
Yeah,
weren't
yeah,
very
yeah.
big. So it was like sardines.
Yeah.
And we had a little smoking area at the back once that all come in. And that was funny. Well, it weren't funny because I thought I was going to go out of business when they stopped the smoking
Really?
in bars. But, to the
You
young
thought that was going to stop people coming out?
To the youngsters out there, they're thinking, what, smoking in bars? That was a big thing. Like, I used to have to put all the ashtrays out. And like I had these big sort of fans that would suck air in and suck the air out.
Yeah.
And to think back now to have smoking inside, it was madness.
Unbelievable,
But
yeah.
at the time when they was proposing the ban, it was like, we thought we was going out of business.
Yeah.
And the funniest, I'll tell you what, this is a real funny story. The first weekend when smoking was banned, the smell of farts was diabolical, right? Because previously you'd had smoke.
Yeah.
So it masked everything. So everyone's...
You smell farts and
You
creed.
could just see people walking around going, it stinks. And that was the smell of farts.
Really? Well,
That's-
people just let him rip.
Yeah.
Until they knew, like, well, you can't be farted out.
Mate,
Some,
when
you know,
that ban
it's-
come in, I started an ashtray business, right? I found like sourced these things online, you know, like the ones you put on the wall.
Yeah.
Where you can have like a freestanding one. And I was going around to all these places, like, got ashtrays up for when you do smoking. And everyone's like, nah, it's all right, mate. Because they all had suppliers and they just stocked them. I thought, oh, mate, I'm going to have it off here. This is going to be the one. Smoking ban's coming in. I'm going to have every ashtray in every pub in the country.
Yeah.
I think I sold like 2 of them.
Yeah.
Sore, mate.
Do you know what? It was worrying times, but it's mad how your mindset, you get used to things and you think, that they can't do that. I'm not even a smoker. I hate smoking.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, why are they doing this? And now you look back, it's like smoking on planes.
Yeah.
Can you believe you could smoke on planes?
Yeah.
Like, it was
Unbelievable.
mental.
Yeah.
Go in a restaurant, smoking or non-smoking.
Yeah.
I'm in the non-smoking section, and there's a guy there smoking. Like, what difference does it make if you're in the smoking or not?
Look, I don't say people can't do anything if it's your life's choice, but that was pretty mad.
Yeah.
That you could smoke on planes and in places, but
Yeah. Unbelievable.
My favourite section in most clubs and bars was the smoking section
yeah,
well,
because it was a bit quieter. You could have a proper conversation.
Yeah,
out
the
there.
music's a bit quieter.
Yeah,
yeah.
I used
you
to
could have
love
a
the
chat
smoking
with people.
section.
Yeah.
So you weren't a raver to the music.
I
really?
was. I mean, I've got to say, out of all those nightclubs I mentioned, probably New Bar, probably Sugar Rush was the one I went to most. Maybe 195, actually, we didn't mention that. I used to go to that a lot. Faces, not so much. New Bar, probably like third. But yeah, that was one of the things that sometimes put me off about New Bar, is where it was just so popular.
Right,
It
yeah,
was so
it was-
busy.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a funny story. So the opening night, I was getting all people saying, why are you opening this bar? Why have you spent so much money on this? Like, I borrowed so much.
It looked
Like,
good.
Yeah, listen, you know, remember, I'm 25 when I first got it, but I was 26 when it opened, and I didn't have enough money. And I didn't know where I was going to get this extra money from. And my mum, I love my mum, my mum went, I'll remortgage my house.
Right.
We'll get 100 grand out. I was like, this is a big risk.
Big
Right.
pun.
Fuck.
You know, this could go wrong. But I did believe we needed it, and I did think it was going to be a success.
What
but
gave you the feeling that it was going to be
because
successful?
I lived in the area. I knew everyone, Loughton, Brentwood, just through going out.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I used to go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So did my missus.
Yeah.
You know, we knew everyone, and I had a lot of friends. And I thought, look, this is going to be popular because a lot of my friends were saying we need something between a bar and a club. So it was like a hybrid.
Yeah,
weren't
it was a hybrid.
And I just remember the opening night. And funny enough, Sid Owen, do you remember Ricky off Descender? He was my mate, right? And he went, what's this going to be like? I went, yeah, there'll be a few here. I remember his words to me on the opening night. This is 2006. He went, oh my God, what have you done here? I had like 300 people in. I had 300 people queuing to get in outside. We couldn't cope. I was jumping behind the bar. My wife was jumping behind the bar. We were running out of things. And from that day, I went, we've cracked it.
Yeah.
I've cracked it.
Money well spent, mum.
I've got a funny story about Sid Owen. One of your friends, who I won't mention his name because I don't know if he'd want to be mentioned by name, but the guy who used to have the Ferrari for years.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was in a restaurant with him somewhere, and he was talking to that Sid Owen, and he stopped talking to him. I went, fucking hell, how do you know him? And he went, you know, just from the manor. I went, what, Walford? And he did not find it funny.
I met Sid in Mallorca one year. I was only young, and I called him Ricky.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
How did he take that?
You just see, like, they're like, Sid. Like, we went on to be good mates.
Yeah,
do you know what I
course.
mean? But, you know, when you just want to die inside. But it's when
you knew him as Sid before.
when you see people on the telly and they're a different character, it's the first thing that comes in your mind, you know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you met Ian Bill, like, how are you going to not call
Oh,
him
is Ian Bill? I don't know
Do you
Ian
what I mean?
Bill's name.
Yeah.
I mean, bless him, Barry from EastEnders.
Barry, mate.
It's Barry, isn't he?
Have you seen the memes with him?
Oh, he's brilliant, mate.
When he does all the songs.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
gonna do
What a
it
character, though.
anyway.
He plays on it, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
of course he does. Yeah, of
I
course
love
he
that.
does. But yeah, the only thing that I would say was negative about Nuba, and this is from people that I've been told that took narcotics in the establishment, which wasn't me, Adam. The toilets were a bit small.
Yeah, they were. 2 cubicles, very pokey, long queues.
Yeah.
No, there was
The bouncer was on it as well, so I've been told.
Listen, there was only 1 cubicle in the men's. I forget how I got past all this, and there was only 2 in the women's.
Really?
Right? And you got to think there's 300 odd people in there sometimes. It was a nightmare, you know, like it was. But like the drug situation, I'm very anti-drugs.
Yeah.
For a reason, like, you know, family reason, and I've never took drugs and that, and I was on it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a bit more serious here. I caught 2 fellas once dealing in the toilets.
Right, fucking hell.
And I don't want to get myself nicked here, but I'll say it. And I walked in and they were dealing in the toilets. I went, fellas, can't do that in here. And they went, what are you going to do about it?
Oh.
Well, my back went up and I've gone to go out and they've cornered me. I think, oh no. So long story short, I fought for my life, right, for about a minute.
Yeah,
seemed like longer.
Self-defense, yeah.
I come out, quickly run and got the doorman, right? And they was in a bad way, right? I'd left them in a bad way. It was a right small little toilet as well.
Yeah.
But I fought for my life, like in there, and I left them in a bad way. And the doorman come in, he went to me, you better go. There was blood all up the walls and everything. And I went, and they only tried to get me nicked. The drug dealers. tried to get me nicked.
Really? Oh, that is the worst.
Mate, that's made my skin crawl.
You know? And this was a sort of thing. I mean, I had some. Look, it was a busy bar in an area where everyone thought there was a gangster half the time.
Yeah.
We had real gangsters. We had people coming. So things like this happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so it, you know, I went from a boy to a man very quickly in
that cubicle. So did I actually.
Yeah.
For different reasons.
But no, it was just a mad place. Great times and some bloody dangerous times as well.
How do you deal with a night? Because that is one of the big things I've noticed within, and I don't know if it's necessarily an issue if you own other nightclubs in other parts of the country. But one thing I've noticed, if you own a nightclub in the areas that we live, there is very much like there's that sort of element of people that are, how would you say it? I mean, gangsters sounds a bit muggy, but they're not nice people. Do you know what I mean?
Listen,
and it's how do you deal with those sort of people? One, when they come into your place, and then 2, also because they see you doing well, they probably want a little piece of the pie, don't they?
If I ever wrote a book, no one would believe my book. Or leave it at that. You know, some of the situations, I've had guns pulled on me, I've been stabbed, I've had people try and take money off me, I've been on meets with like one of the most notorious black gangs in the country. I've had every situation you could possibly think of because of that bar.
Really?
But a lot of it happened pre me having kids, so I was fearless. One thing, you know, a lot of the time I was fearless. And then once you have kids, or I had my first kid, you start realising something could go badly wrong here as well.
Exactly. All of a
And
sudden
I've
you
got
got people
history
depending
with
on
my
you.
dad as well. We won't go down that route. But
Because your dad
was murdered.
Your
when
dad
I
was
11.
murdered in the pub.
In the pub, yeah.
Yeah.
For standing up against gangsters and drug dealers. Right. So I went into that line of work, and really, for me to say we ain't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be a gangster. You know, I know a million gangsters from our area and whatever. I could have gone that way.
Yeah.
Didn't. I've got no interest in hurting people.
There's no happy endings in
I've
that
got
game.
no interest in drugs. You know, I want to go to bed knowing, you know, I'm not going to get nicked in the morning. I'm not going to get something in the back of the head. You know,
It's not the way to live, is it?
And for any kids watching, that is not the way to go in life.
No.
And that's why I do this knife crime thing as well, because we too many see these movies and see an easy bit of money, and they go the wrong route. You know, so you know,
I think it's almost glamorised, though, isn't it?
It is.
All that knife. It's almost.
But they're not just knives anymore.
No.
And this is what I say online. You're talking about these
They
zombie
think they're like
knives.
the
They're fucking
movie,
swords,
don't
mate.
They
This
are
is trouble.
swords.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I've got a petition coming out, a government petition, hopefully next week, with an ex-police officer. And we're trying to go for 5-year mandatory sentences for anyone caught with a knife.
Yeah.
Now, you can't have these people walking down the streets with things that are like 15 inches long. Like they're designed to maim people.
Yeah.
And they're not getting prison. A lot of the time they get suspended sentences. And I said this on GB News the other week. You Google Machete UK suspended sentence, and there's hundreds of articles of people just getting suspended sentences. Now, we're banging people up for saying some bad things online.
Yeah.
Some of the things have been quite bad. Don't deserve to go to prison.
Words,
Not-
aren't they?
Yeah, not if you're allowing people to walk down the street with machetes. Like, what has gone wrong?
Yeah.
What
It's
has-
twisted, mate.
and-
It's completely twisted.
Let's have it right. You had people like Hugh Edwards, the BBC guy, found guilty. So I'm not, saying anything that I shouldn't be. He had child images on his phone, paedophilia, and they don't go to prison. Yet I could say something against the government in some way or that they think is inciting, and they can put me in prison for 3 years. We've seen it in the summer. Like, what has happened? No wonder we've got kids running around with knives. They know they're not going to get nicked.
Yeah, look, that 5-year mandatory, mate, I'd sign that.
Yeah, and as well, what we're going to try and push for as well is 3-year mandatory for juveniles. Look, it's nothing I haven't said before. I carried knives at times when I was young through fear. Okay? Now, if I knew I was going to get 3 years, if I'm under 18, I wouldn't have done it.
Nah.
I never had any intention of using it. And that's what I said to you. I never thought I was a big man, never wanted to be a tough guy. It's literally, I better have that on in case they turn up and they've got them. You know? And this is the cycle that we've got
and that
now.
is often because I have known a couple of people that have carried knives, right? And I can tell you now, and I know it sounds ridiculous, they're not bad people.
No,
what they're doing is they're carrying knives because of fear of, well, if they've got them, we got to have them.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And they're so clouded in this world of like this fucking shit they're in.
Yeah.
They can't see that, you know.
And this is the thing.
Can't see the wood from the trees.
You've
can't see
got a
how bad it
knife
is.
in your pocket. You get drunk. Listen, when you're young, some of the bad decisions you've made when you're drunk, whether it be with girls or whatever.
Made a few of them in Nubar.
Right. So you imagine you're drunk or you're off your head on whatever else, and you've got a knife in your pocket, and your brain's telling you, "Come on, get that out, wave that about, or threaten him."
Yeah, don't need that.
That's when you can see things happening. And this is, I'll try and say, I've got a 15-year-old boy, and I fear him walking down Loughton High Road. This is a lovely, rich suburb. But there are groups of kids in Loughton with knives. And as you say, they might not be the bad ones. A lot of the time, it's normal kids that are carrying them because they know the bad ones have got them. And we've got to break that cycle.
But if there's no consequences, then the cycle's not going to be broken. What I always think with that, I'm carrying it because he's carrying it.
Yeah.
If you stick that, you're getting 5 years if you got one on you. He's going to stop carrying them, and he's going to stop
Do
carrying
you know
them.
what? It's funny what the lefties sort of say on X. They go to me, "There's no prison spaces. Where are you going to put these people? Don't be so ridiculous." Well, I tell you what. Let's let some of the people out that have maybe committed low-level fraud or theft or whatever that are not violent, that are not a risk to our sons, and let's start putting the people in prison that wave machetes around on the street and threaten people with them.
Yeah.
Why not
Is
build
that-
more prisons?
Yeah, and let's build more prisons. How many jobs will that create?
Exactly.
We're all right sending billions to Ukraine or wherever we're sending them foreign aid, but we can't build prisons. How many jobs would that create? Let's make our streets safer.
Plus, it's just like peace of mind for the fucking general public. Surely the criminals are locked up,
Yeah, and
especially the violent ones.
I say this now. I feel like criminals, and when I say about illegal immigrants and that in this country now, they've got more rights than the average Brit. How have we got there? Who cares about the human rights of someone that's just stabbed or raped someone?
Yeah, it makes me upset.
Yeah, it makes me upset. And this is why I carry on. As you say, you know, me being in the media, it's not exactly making me rich. It's not like, oh, I can't stop saying this because I'm getting so much money from it.
Why do you all that due to the GB News stuff? What is the biggest motivation for that then? If it's not money,
I'll tell you what it is. It's being recognised that you're not on your own. So the amount of messages that I get from people saying, I wish I could say what you're saying, but my boss had sacked me, or I couldn't say that. Well, you're expecting me to say it, you know?
Yeah.
But I do get it, because people have got to put food on the table for their families.
Yeah,
they don't want to upset the apple cart.
You know,
or they don't want to have rows with family members or whatever. I suppose
also
I get off a little bit on, well, I'll say it for you.
Say it for you, yeah.
And, you
and
know,
also some people, not everyone wants to say certain things. I can tell you now, there's certain jokes that I've put up of mine where people are like, oh, why don't you say this? Why don't you say that? Why are you being a coward? Why don't you say it? And I'm like, that's not really my vibe, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not this big sort of outspoken. I'm not particularly opinionated.
No.
You know, I respect people like you and then other people that are maybe on the left that have got their opinions, and I listen to them and I think that's a good point. Do you know what I mean?
But look, I respect anyone that they might be on the left. They might have totally different views to me. But if they're willing to say it and stick by it, then I will respect them, right? Because I only say what I believe. GB News have never told me I can't say one thing. And I know you see certain people saying, oh, you're told what to say on GB News. Never. And the only time I've never been able to say a couple of things is if it's an active court case and you put that at risk.
Do you ever, is there anything you ever say when you look back and you think, oh, fuck, I wish I hadn't said that?
Do you know what? I think I'm pretty good now of taking it to the line of what I can get away with.
Yeah.
And like during the riots, I was in Mallorca when the summer riots happened.
Right.
And I got a few tweets going, and then I'd think, no.
No.
Yeah, let's not send that.
No.
Yeah.
And, you know,
yeah, come on, I'm on holiday. It's not worth it.
It was such a raw, don't want to bring the podcast down, because it was such a raw thing that set the riots off with kids dying and whatever. There was so much emotion. And it was so easy just to, you could see how some of these people have gone, bomb. I've had
Everyone's hurting.
They've ended up in prison. And there was one lady, she put 3 things out there. I don't agree with anything that she wrote. Let's put it this way. But you could sort of see how maybe she snapped. And she deleted them after 3 odd hours. And she got 2 years, 7 months in prison. And that infuriates me because, as we said about knife crime, these paedophiles that download kids' images and all like that, they're not in prison. And you've got a woman that's, what she said was pretty vile. But should you go to prison for
Sticks
that?
and stones, isn't it?
Come on. Is she a danger to society? No.
And she took the tweets down anyway.
Yeah. And are the people that are carrying these zombie knives a danger to society?
Yeah, of course they are.
Is people like Hugh Edwards a danger to society that get, you know, they're downloading images of kids? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So we've got this all wrong. We've got this all wrong. And I don't know how it changes.
Yeah. What are the chances, obviously you're doing a Misfits Boxing now.
Yeah.
What are the chances of you fighting Jeremy Corbyn?
Oh, can you imagine? I'm not bigging myself up. I think I'd snap him.
Is it the same weight class? Is it the same weight class?
I'd make him have a wash first.
You've got to have a shave. You'd have to have a shave.
No.
Is there any of those? There's got to be some of that, because I'll tell you now, from a Misfits point of view, you know, you're the sort of right-leaning GB News guy. There's got to be someone that maybe can have a bit of a tear up that is a little bit more your opposite.
On the
you know
left,
what I mean?
we've been looking.
Have you been looking?
Yeah. And do you know it? I tell you, I'll make you really laugh. So, someone come to me the other day and said, "There's a, it's not a guy. There's a trans boxer or somewhere in America.
Right.
Was a woman, is now a fella.
Right. Okay.
And they went, would you fight a trans boxer? And I went, come on.
No.
It's a bit much.
Come on. Like, I was born a woman.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
And imagine I lost. Imagine I lost. Can you imagine?
Oh no, you've got to do it.
After all I say about the trans issue and all like that.
Are they trying to make the fight?
Well, no. It was sort of put to me. I went, can you imagine I lose that?
We're gonna get that fight made.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're gonna. Could you imagine? No, you wouldn't leave it
But
down.
I don't know if your viewers sort of know much about Misfits, but like for me to be on there, like I was interested in it because my boy was like 13 at the time.
Yeah.
Likes KSI.
And did you take him to a show, didn't you?
I took him to a show.
Yeah.
And then he went to me, it was a KSI show, and he went to me, Dad, do you think you could get on there because of your Twitter, your ex? And I went, don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
And we were both training at the time. I was taking him down the boxing gym. And I messaged the owner of Misfits. And he went, yeah, I'll come back to you. And I went, it might happen, it might not. And I think it was about a year later, they called me and said, you got to fight Rhino.
Right.
Remember the old Gladiator?
Gladiator.
Yeah.
You remember him, didn't you?
Yeah. I watched the fight.
And mate, I've got to say, he's a bit older than me. I think 8 or 9 years older than me. But when I tell you his body,
Oh, mate, yeah.
Shredded. Yeah.
And during the fight, like I was the underdog.
His cardio weren't the best, though, was it?
No, mate, he was fit as anything.
No, but it looked to me like he was getting a little bit laboured a couple of minutes in.
Mate, he boxed for 20 odd years as well.
Oh, did
and
he really?
Like I've got doorman mates that knew him like from London and said, you've picked one here, he can right have it.
Yeah, but he's no match for the new bar nuisance, is he?
So,
The mayor of Loughton.
I went into that, and I'll tell you what, I hit him with a body shot, right, as hard as I could, and my hand bounced off his body.
Really?
And in my mind, I thought, oh no.
He's a fucking real
And I lost the first round. I was losing on points with that, and I thought, just try and get another round out, see what happens, don't mug yourself. This is how I'm thinking in the corner. Yeah. Don't mug yourself off. Yeah, and then I caught him with a peach.
Yeah, done him.
Put him over.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, uppercut.
Fucking gladiators.
And, no, but he went down and he sort of nearly fell through the ropes. He managed just to get up, but his legs were all over the place. But he was a tough man. He wanted to carry on.
Where was that? Your call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Put Rhino on the canvas at your call, mate. Come on.
Yeah.
And,
That's historic.
Is it your family's from Bethnal Green, aren't they?
Yeah. So my
it's
dad,
quite nice to have done it at York Hall.
It was like going home, you know what I mean?
Course,
but my dad had loads of fights in York Hall. My dad was a top amateur in the 60s, boxed for Britain, England, like abroad, everything.
Yeah.
Could have been a top pro, took a pub instead. But, I'd always wanted to be a boxer from a kid. And I tried it in my 20s and I got bashed. Like, I thought I could fight. Thought I was a tough guy, and I got bashed by a traveller from Ireland on one of these unlicensed shows. And I'd give up. But I'd only been doing it like 6 months, didn't have a lot of training. And then I've taken it back up in my 40s. I've had 4 fights now, 3 on Misfits.
Where are you training?
In Debden.
Nice.
Yeah. And
mate, I'd like to come down there and train with you.
Yeah, I've become good friends, like Simeon and Liam and the team there. They've become friends. I'm there as much as I'm at home, you know what I mean? Once his hand's like sorted, I'll be back training.
Yeah.
But boxing, it was always something I had to open pubs or a bar to tick that box.
Do it. You had to
do it because of me
for your dad, yeah.
The boxing I had to do. And this whole Misfits thing, it's almost like a drug. It's so infectious.
Really?
New little lease of life.
Yeah.
I've got to say, listen, I'm a massive fan of boxing.
Yeah.
And I don't like Misfits.
Yeah.
The only time I watch Misfits is when you're on there to support you because I like watching your fights.
Misfits, see that?
Basically.
See that when I'm on.
So there you go. You're the big draw.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
draw.
you're
massive.
like Floyd Mayweather in Epping Forest. You know what I mean? You're a big name.
No, yeah. So look, I love it.
That's why I watch it.
Look, I understand the purists,
Only to watch you.
and there's a lot of people. You even speak to Eddie Hearn, good friend of mine for years.
Yeah.
They know what Misfits is. I know what Misfits is. If you watch the fights, there was a fight after mine. It was the most ridiculous thing at the recent Misfits.
Was it the rappers?
Yeah,
was it 2 rappers?
yeah. Afghan Dan and Little T.
Yeah, that was mad.
And people are
I see some highlights
texting me
of
the
that.
next day going, "What was that?" And what Misfits is, it's influencer boxing or celebrity boxing, whatever you want to call it, but it's meant to be a bit of fun as well. And they've got people from YouTube, X, Instagram, all over, Love Island, and it's storylines a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's a bit like WWF, isn't it?
right. So what Misfits want is they want to entertain.
Yeah.
It's a cross between boxing and WWF or
Yeah.
WWE. I think I knew it when I was young. So the purists are not going to like it, but there
Yeah.
are some that recognise it's getting kids in gyms. At 13, my boy's 15. All he's interested in is girls at the minute.
Yeah, of course.
But he said, Dad, we'll go to that next Misfits. Like, no, I'm not on it. He would never ask to go to a normal boxing show. He's got no interest. So a lot of kids are getting into boxing
Through that.
through this.
Yeah.
And look,
It's filling
let's
gyms
not
up.
take anything away from the fact that still two blokes getting in the ring and standing toe to
Yeah,
toe.
I know.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got to say...
Against anyone.
What, you wouldn't do it?
No chance.
I've got to say, it's the most loneliest place in the world.
Exactly.
When you're in there, no one can help you. And it's funny.
I don't know, have you ever been a stand-up comedian?
But like you can't win doing the boxing. When I bet, the first fight I had was a charity fight against a guy called Bash, who was a street fighter and had loads of bare knuckles and whatever. And my trainers were like, "Ad, what are you doing? Like, really want to do this?" I went, "Yeah, I'll beat him. Promise you. I've had more fights in my new bar car park than this geezer's had fights. Right? Don't worry, I can handle it." And yeah, I beat him, knocked him out. But I don't know where I was going. Where was I go? You
Just saying, getting in the ring with anyone,
I
it's
remember
tough.
walking to the ring. I was walking to the ring. I always wanted my son to walk out with me. And I went, this was at York Hall as well.
Yeah.
So I had two there. And I went, Artie, if I get knocked out here, go and sit with mum. Because it was only going two ways with me and this Bash. I was getting knocked out in the first minute or two, or he was.
Yeah.
And I knocked him out.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of mindset. And as you get in there, and then suddenly all the crowd's there, and you're looking around thinking, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What?
I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Even
it's
look, a
tough.
mate of mine, a mate of ours, the plumber, he had if you join up to have a fight, we'll give you 3 months free training, one of them, right?
Yeah.
The lowest level of boxing you can ever imagine. I wouldn't get in there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
And I think people look at it and go, well, what's 2 minutes or 3 minute rounds? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do 3 minute rounds. It's pro rules.
Was it
in
4
Misfits.
3-minute rounds?
Yeah. And let me tell you now, you take the average person off the street and put them on a punch bag for 3 minutes,
Yeah.
they won't be able
No,
to do
too
it.
much.
Now you tie in that someone's trying to take your head off as well.
Yeah.
Then you tie in with the
Adrenaline.
nerves.
Cameras, the crowd.
My last fight against the TikToker Gavinio, right? There was 5,000 people in the Co-op Arena in Manchester.
Yeah.
Right? I walked out to a good tune, by the way.
What
was it?
Garage. It's the Way.
Yeah,
It's
nice,
the way,
nice,
it's the
nice.
way.
So that was meant to get me right going. And I walked
All
out.
these kids are probably like, what is
Yeah.
this song? They probably don't
yeah.
even know what it is.
I walked out and I looked at it and I thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, serious.
5,000 people there. And then you get in the ring and then you remember there's probably 100,000, 200,000 watching on DAZN as well.
Yeah.
Plus, it's going on YouTube forever.
Yeah, and if you get knocked out, you are going viral.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
But
listen,
same
listen.
token, if you knock him out, that's going
Yeah,
viral
And
as well.
that
Yeah.
is taking nothing. And that's what I always say about Misfits. I'm like, look, it's not a bit of me. I'll watch Adam on it, no problem. I mean, because my thing is, I feel like it in some
It cheapens boxing.
It cheapens
That's what-
boxing, yeah.
But in
It-
some aspects it does, but it's not trying to be boxing.
But, okay.
Because they market it. It's
Yeah,
not.
that's
we're
fair
not
enough.
saying, like, I'm 45 years of age, I'm boxing. I know I'm not a pro.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But you're one of the better ones on there. Like you.
But I'm putting in the time. I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn it,
Yeah.
before it's too late.
Adam
this
Brooks
is-
versus Wayne Bridge.
Whoa, right. Exclusive here, right? So,
Oh, here we go.
exclusive. So, the night it was the night of my fight.
Yeah.
Afterwards, KSI brought in Wayne Bridge and they had this big.
I thought it was a
hoo-ha.
Liberty what he'd said.
Right. So I'm sitting there with people all connected to KSI and that. And I've got to be careful actually, he's my boss. But like I sit there. And as they start doing the verbals, there's older people that I look round and they went head in hands. I went, oh, I'm a father, yeah?
Yeah.
So I know that Wayne's got kids. That's not going down well.
Nah, it's awful.
And I sort of thought, oh no. So I've only met Wayne before, but he's friends with my friends. Afterwards, I went, how you doing, mate? We're talking. And he seemed all right. He didn't say anything negative about that
Yeah.
situation. How are you? And we was talking about boxing. And then I think 2 days later or 3 days later, he pulled out.
Yeah.
So I tagged Wayne in some Instagram story about me and you. And he put back, mate, he said, that's a great idea. I'd love to fight you.
Yeah.
You know, both the same ages. I think it would be a good fight.
Yeah.
But he said what had happened here had sort of put him off and put too much heat on him and his family.
He ain't a bad little
and whatever
boxer
that-
neither.
Right. So one thing about Wayne Bridge, I then spoke to a couple of footballers that I know and went, Ad, he was known as one of the hardest footballers at that time.
Really?
He can have it. And his fitness, he's a fitness freak.
Yeah.
So I know if I fight him, I've just got an animal in front of me, you know?
Yeah.
So I would have had to step it up a lot.
Yeah.
But you never know. Wayne
We
Bridge,
mentioned it
never
on the
know.
podcast before. He done that SAS, Who Dares Wins, and that Jason Fox was like, oh, mate, the engine on him's unbelievable.
But I've got an exclusive for you here. I was put forward for that.
Yeah.
Celebrity SAS.
You gonna go on it?
If they want me, I'll go
Oh,
on
they're
it.
still considering you now.
Well, they did last time.
They did.
I didn't quite make it to the last lot.
Right.
But yeah, look, I'm available.
Do it, mate.
Yeah. Get on there.
Yeah.
100%.
But I'm scared of heights.
Right.
I'm claustrophobic and I hate being cold. So it's going to be right
Yeah,
entertaining.
you're fucks.
Yeah, but look, you got to overcome these things.
Yeah. It's
Perfect
a challenge.
opportunity, and you get paid for it.
Yeah, that's more the driver.
And you see all these
So-
SAS bods, yeah, they're hard or whatever, but could they run a successful fucking bar in Loughton?
No.
Yeah,
they
150
Do you know what
capacity
I mean?
with 300 bods in it.
Exactly.
Probably not. But one thing I was going to say about the Misfits is, despite all that, of my opinions of it, anyone that gets in the ring and fights in front of that many people, massive hats off to them, because I think that takes bottle. It either takes a bit of stupidity of like you don't really know what you're getting into,
Both.
or it takes massive bottle. And when he said there, oh, what about Wayne? I thought he was going to say Wayne Lineker.
Oh, no, come on. I know
Oh,
Wayne.
where's that? He's too old, mate.
I know Wayne.
He's
but
been
that
on the
wouldn't be
pod.
fair, would it?
that would be terrible.
No,
wouldn't
it'd be terrible.
No, and I'm now seeing sort of 60-year-old men looking at Misfits and thinking, I can do this. It's not right. That whole Tyson, Jake Paul
How
thing.
old
was
are
like
you
It made
now?
me
eh?
sad.
45 in a few weeks.
What
So
what age would you fight up to?
I think I've got a few more left in me. But you've just got to realise that, you know, your body aches. Like, I've broke my hand on the guy's head. So obviously bones don't age as well as they should. And look, just a bit of self-respect as well. Like, I don't want to be, I would hate to be, and I'm not having a go at Wayne Lineker, but like I wouldn't want to be that guy in a club at 60 years of age.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be that guy trying to relive his youth on Misfits at 60 years of age.
So do you reckon to 50? 50 the number you'd fight to?
I've got a couple of years maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, but this is the thing, like you said, I still feel like an 18-year-old.
I do, yeah.
So
yeah,
even though our bodies are getting older, I still feel
Yeah.
young. So it's like, you offer me that thing when I'm 50, maybe I would do it. You know what I mean? Who knows? I've got the brain of a youngster.
Yeah, but one thing I will say is, you know, I've never shied away from a fight, and as good as I feel boxing, like you feel $1 million. You know when they do all the pads and that.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I mean, sometimes, and I always film my training sessions. Sometimes Misfits ask for me to put it up, or if I want to remind them that I'm available,
Yeah.
I put me hitting the pads up. But it's amazing how great you feel, and then you watch it back. It's like watching it in slow motion.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not very quick.
Not
Oh,
as
what, you
quick,
thought you was a bit
I
tastier?
sometimes
No.
see,
Yeah.
I sometimes think that because I do a little bit of training down my local gym, and I sometimes think, oh yeah, I can't. Oh, I'm really slipping. I'm bobbing away. I look back and I'm like, oh, I don't move how I think I'm moving. You know what I mean?
No, but that's why I always record my sparring and that, because I like to go back and try and learn that way. But yeah, you normally feel a lot better than when you watch it back. Another couple of Misfits would be great for me.
Yeah,
you know,
lovely.
and say I've done it.
Yeah, and we'll try and get to the next one, mate.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah,
I'll
that'd be
have
good.
it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks for coming on, Ed. It's been great. Sorry that that cabbie thought that you were me.
Oh mate, that's funny. How mad's that?
I know, it's
It was
mad,
only a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
of weeks ago. So you've got to get your glasses out as
I
well.
got 'em, mate. That's it. I've
Mate,
got
he
my
wears
bins.
very similar glasses
Yeah,
to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm trying to wear them. Oh well, I need to go back to the opticians because they're just getting worse and worse and worse.
Well,
but
mine were getting worse, and I was on the cusp of Misfits. Like, obviously, we have to have proper medicals.
you have them lasered.
Like, no, I don't want that. But I was on the borderline of passing the medical. Like, you have to have MRIs
What,
and
for bad eyesight?
everything.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, your eyes are not great. Go and get them retested for the next fight. So I did. And, like, these are twice as strong, I think, as my last lot of glasses.
Really? Blimey.
So, everything's deteriorating.
Yeah,
with
I
age,
know, mate. I know. I'm there. Well, listen, thanks for coming on.
Cheers,
lads.
mate.
Cheers,
Been
mate.
great chatting, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, what they got to do on the YouTube, white boy?
Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Hit the bell icon if you never want to miss an episode.
Lovely stuff. And my tour is starting early March. The southern leg is nearly entirely sold out. There's only tickets left for Brighton, Cambridge, and maybe the matinee show in Guildford. But the northern leg, which is starting in like September, October, November time, still plenty for those. So get on them. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you all next week. Arrivederci.